Okay, so the thread that we're tying through here now is this journey, this process of integrating ourselves to become whole again. So where we started really with body, mind, spirit. There we go. I just gave it away. the first 2 weeks. Let's just have a recap of body. We recapped it briefly last week. So do you remember what the body lecture is about? What the message, the key message there to take away is? Capucine can't start, so it's either Sophia or Paula. Oh, the pressure on the two. Do either of you remember body? No.
It's so early, sorry.
I can't even find anything. All right, okay, no problems. So body is where we remember that we are connected to the universe, and as such, our body contains the wisdom that we see all around us in nature. So that could be the the cycles that the solar system creates of days, weeks, months, seasons. Yeah. It can also be when we look inwards really closely, well, not even inwards yet, but we look in nature and we see that every living being is in tune with those cycles. So some animals are nocturnal, they sleep during the day and they wake at night, and others are the same as us, diurnal. We see that animals, some hibernate, some migrate, they have reproductive seasons according to when food is in abundance. So we see that, and they don't know, nothing in nature knows what to do because they have Google Calendar synced with mine. Finally. They do it because it's within their DNA. It's within the wisdom of their cells. Okay. And we tend to forget that we're also part of this wisdom. And we have to remember that when we're eating, there is a whole process that goes through the body because the body knows what to do. As we're listening, there's a whole process going on between the eardrums and the brain that turns the vibration of my voice coming through your computer into meaning. When we adjust our posture, it's because we get feedback from the central nervous system, the nervous system about how we're feeling. We need to move, or we need to get out of the sun, or we need to move to somewhere warmer. Our hormone system, the endocrine system, the nervous system, the digestive system, the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, all of these are working 24/7 from before we are born to ensure that we remain healthy, that we thrive. And even when we push ourselves sometimes beyond our limits, the body is still there doing its very best to keep us in balance. Okay? If we sustain that imbalance for long, long periods of time, then we do develop either acute or chronic illness, normally chronic. Okay? But so the body, Ong Namo, Gurudev Namo, Ong Namo, I bow to the universal wisdom and recognize that it's inside of you. Gurudev Namo, I bow to the divine teacher within me. So listening really to the feedback, the signals that your body gives you about how you're feeling moment by moment, because that's the wisdom inside of you telling you, okay, that's enough time on the computer, your eyes are tired, or that's enough time carrying this bag on that shoulder, put it on the other shoulder. Yeah. So that we can learn to adjust and keep ourselves healthy and in balance. All right. So that's body. Mind. Can anyone, particularly Paula and Sophia, can anyone give me a quick recap on the mind that we did last week?
And yeah, we looked about the three different types of our mind. The first one, the negative, that reacts really fast and is the first one in our life that is yeah, it's very strong, and just to keep us alive. And then is the neutral mind. It's the balanced negative and positive, and it's a space where we should make decisions and yeah, work through this. And then there's the positive mind, and it's the one who keeps us searching and exploring and developing, and yeah.
Excellent. Very, very good. So the negative mind, also known as the protective mind, because it's the one that keeps us safe. The positive mind, also known as the expansive mind, because it's the one that motivates us to become more than we are currently. But they both go out of balance, strong or weak. And that's where we are normally operating from, as a place of imbalance because of our childhood, our traumas, our expectations, the expectations of our family, society, our culture. And so we tend not to find ourselves in the neutral mind very often, but it is, as Sophia said, it's really where we need to be acting from. And that is acting, not reacting, because the reactions come when we're in the imbalance, negative, positive manifestations. Super. All right, so today, the third piece of that jigsaw puzzle is spirit. So we had the mantra for the body is Om Namo Gurudev Namo. We had the mantra for the neutral mind, Wa He Guru, which we started the meditation with. And the mantra for spirit is Sat Nam. Sat Nam, okay? And this is where we're going to start the process of today's session, is with that mantra. And as we did with the other mantras, unpacking it a little bit. So Sat Nam. Sat means, Paula? No, Paula, can you hear me? Yeah? Do you know what Sat is? Can you tell us Sat? You're muted.
Sorry, are you talking to me, Sarah? Sorry, because I got the kettle. Good morning.
No, hi, Francis. Nice to hear you. No, I was talking to Paula, actually.
Okay.
Can you unmute yourself, Paula, or is it not working? Okay, no problem. I will continue. So Sat means truth, and Nam, N-A-M, means name or identity. So Sat Nam takes us to I am who I am. And as simple as this mantra sounds, it's really, really powerful, because we spend our lives wanting to be something else, either wanting something that we're not or not wanting something that we are. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. So I spent a lot of energy in my youth through to my 20s and probably into my early 30s wanting to be a little bit taller. And of course, it's never going to happen. And it was a lot of wasted energy that went into that desire to be something other than I am. And when we look at it that way, we see really how fruitless it is. But this is an invitation to begin to observe how often we have that internal dialogue where in some way we are rejecting that which we are. And what Sat Nam reminds us is that, you know, we have an essence, we have an essential essence in who we are, how we were created. And that is a blessing. And often we don't know how those blessings are going to manifest, how our uniqueness is going to manifest as a blessing. We may find some aspects of who we are to be inconvenient or awkward or just not what we wanted. As, ow, sorry, I have a kitten on my lap. Ow, Blossom. You know, just a simple fact of our genetic makeup, our biology, that we wish that we were something else and we can't change it. But actually, as we grow up and as we learn acceptance, we start to see, oh, that's actually quite handy. You know, for me, when I'm traveling now and I'm on a plane, it's amazing. I feel like I'm in business class, even when I'm in the tiniest, cheapest economy seats, because I don't need a lot of space. So these things that we may have inside of us, and we've all got them, which on some level we reject, it's just Satnam is really a reminder to accept. And even the things that we can improve. So that could be our tendency to be reactive, our tendency to be insecure, to have a low self-esteem. Yeah, those are all things that we can work on. We start to work on them through Satnam, through acceptance. Because that which we reject only ever becomes stronger. So if, for example, I can give you a live example at the moment, something I'm working with. If, for example, so for me, I've recognized that often in my desire to be liked, I will overgive. So I will say things I will say yes to things because I really want to help somebody. Somebody's asked me for something, so I say yes without thinking. And then afterwards, at some point, I will feel uncomfortable, maybe a bit overwhelmed, and even a little bit resentful. And then that transforms itself into a negativity within me, which then needs to take some things back. And that creates problems in relationships. Okay. Now, if I stay in rejection of that aspect of myself, then I'm not going to be able to resolve it. Yeah, it's going to get worse. So what I have to do is I have to accept, say, aha, this is something in me. I have to see it clearly first. And in order to see it clearly, I have to accept that it's there. So Satnam, I have a need to be liked. And that can create problems because there's something in me which doesn't feel good enough, acceptable enough just to be who I am. And for it to be okay to sometimes say no. Or even not to say no, for it to be okay sometimes for me to say, can you give me 10 minutes to think about that? Or can I have 24 hours? Or can I get back to you in a few days? Yeah. How many, well, there's only 2 of you there with your videos on, but do you recognize something like this within yourselves? Yeah, Sophia, yes. Paula, you recognize anything like this?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, great.
I can, and actually something I screenshot yesterday because I really thought it would help me. I think I suffer from the same. Someone said, instead of thinking, why don't these people like me? Think, are these the sorts of people that I would want to like me? Because one thing is trying to please people that you love and that do something for you, and the other, and it's something completely different to be trying to please the whole world. Which...
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's very much in line with this. And I think a lot of us, you know, really tie ourselves in knots, thinking that, you know, we have to be everything to everyone. We have to be accepted and loved by everyone, rather than seeing that we have to accept ourselves. We have to love ourselves and our uniqueness. And from there, we find harmony. Brené Brown talks about it very beautifully. She calls it the difference between fitting in. So fitting in is changing ourselves to be what we think other people want us to be, versus belonging. And belonging is I truly accept who I am. And in doing that, then we find the people that also accept us for who we are. And we find that we belong. And we belong in our own hearts as well. So fitting in versus belonging is for me, a powerful reminder about how am I behaving? What am I doing in this moment? Am I trying to fit in? Or am I coming from a deeper place of belonging? Okay, so Sat Nam is a mantra which we can use just to kind of keep us grounded and connected with this truth. Yeah, I am who I am. And I accept and love all of that, including my shadows. Yeah, which are things that I need to work on, but first I have to accept them. So the mantra is known as a seed mantra, a bij mantra. I'll type it into the chat. B-I-J, a bij mantra. Bij means seed in Sanskrit. Okay. So we're going to talk about this concept a little bit, the concept of the seed. And this is a universal law because everything in creation begins as a seed. Yeah, so these laws that we see when we looked at Ong Namo, the laws that have created the universe and that have created us are at work here through this mantra. So the seed is a small unit. You know, if we take an acorn, it's very small, but within that seed is the full potential for a huge oak tree. Yeah. So it may look tiny and inconsequential, but you can look at it as a blueprint that each acorn that lands on the ground has the potential to become an oak tree which can live for 800 to 1,000 years. And how many acorns is an oak tree going to produce over a lifetime of 800 to 1,000 years, every single year? So within the potential for that one tree is also for the potential for millions of trees. So the seed that is the start of life carries the blueprint for the ultimate potential that each one of us carries. So when we were made, before we were born, yeah, there was a sperm and an egg, and they fused together to create the seed, which grew into the embryo, which grew into the human being, which is us. Now we have a certain amount of genetic makeup, yeah, the DNA, which caused us to have certain color hair, certain color eyes, be tall, be short, be maybe a bit more kapha or a bit more vata in our constitution. That's the nature part, and we have the nurture part, which is the environment that we grow up in, the personality of our parents, how loving or how stressed they were, our siblings, the whole family unit, the extended family, friends, society, and so on. And this is where we get into the more newer science of epigenetics, okay, where scientists are now finding out that through experiences and through our thought patterns, that we can switch on or off certain functions in our DNA. Frances can jump in and correct me at any moment here because she's a doctor. Okay, so my very small understanding of epigenetics is that through our belief system, through our thought patterns, and through the way that we respond to the world, we switch on or off, for example, our healing response. So you might have heard stories about almost miraculous healing in people. Joe Dispenza is a very good example. If any of you have listened to his guided meditations, he was in, I think it was a motorbike crash, and his spine was completely shattered. And he was told he was never going to walk again. And for quite a while, he was in a pretty helpless, hopeless state. But then he decided to direct all of his thoughts and energy towards healing. And it took him a few weeks before he could actually direct his mind as he chose to, because of course our mind tends to be all over the place. But once he had trained his mind to be in that space of really single pointed focus, and he could direct all of his energy towards visualizing his spine healing, he made a really miraculous recovery, and he now teaches these guided meditations. He's a big teacher in the States. So we see there that through the power of the mind, we can directly influence the expression of our genes. Okay, so coming back to Satnam and spirit, the question is, who am I? Who are you? And this is really tricky because, of course, we can only see ourselves really through the filter of who we have become today. But when we connect into spirit, there is a sense of us, there's a part of us that senses, I'm not only that which I'm living now. That there's maybe a deeper vibrancy, a more sustained energy, a much greater potential within us than we are living at this moment. And that it's not just one potential either. Yeah, we have the possibility as human beings to express and develop ourselves in a range of different areas. So when I was looking at this in relationship to my free diving, and day by day, I was getting deeper and deeper. So day by day, I was expanding my potential. This was really a living example for me and helped me greatly to understand this concept of there's a potential inside of me which I haven't reached yet. So every time I did a dive, which was deeper than I had gone before, I didn't know for sure whether I was going to make that dive because I'd never done it. Maybe today is the day that I'm going to reach my limit. But each time that I did a new depth and it felt easy, I realized that my potential was greater than I had allowed myself to imagine. And even my 104-meter dive was my deepest dive, but it felt quite easy. And I know that on that day, it was simply a matter of equalization. And if I'd have been able to equalize a bit deeper, I probably could have done 108 or 110. So my potential was always expanding, and my understanding of myself was therefore always expanding. And when we connect into spirit, it's really, it's an invitation to recognize that inside each of us is a blueprint for potential. So at the moment, Frances is exploring her potential as a pediatric anaesthetist. Paula's exploring, when she gets back to Bali, her potential as a freediving instructor. Sophia is not quite sure what area she next wants to expand into. It was going to be carpentry, but now she's maybe going to do something else. But she knows it's no longer physiotherapy. Yeah, that one has been explored and done. Capucine is also looking at expanding her, I think it's her online offering for freediving, but more along the lines that I teach around spirituality. And Jean-Phi also with his coaching and his meditation and yoga. So we are all always constantly expanding, but just because we make a choice to go in one direction, that doesn't mean that that's the only opportunity for expansion that we have. Frances is also a mother. Yeah. So that's another area of her life where she has huge potential and it's up to her to decide how to be the best mother she can be. Jean-Phil's a dad. In fact, he's a grandfather, for those of you who don't know him very well yet. I'm dating a granddad. So we have, we have 2 babies in the family, and it's kind of nice actually when you look at a small baby and you realize how much possibility there is that lies in front of them. And as we grow up, we tend to forget about that. And we see ourselves within the rigid confines of what we are told is possible for us. And quite often when we're younger, we may have had a bad day in a classroom with a teacher who then made a cutting, diminishing remark in front of our peer group, which we, because we're small and we're vulnerable, we allow to define us. So it was actually an ex-boyfriend of mine. He wasn't particularly good at maths, but he also wasn't the worst in the class. But one day the teacher picked him out in the group and said, "What's the answer to this?" And he was like, "I don't know." But the teacher, rather than moving on or explaining it and accepting that nobody has all the answers to every question all of the time, he picked on him, and really made him look and feel bad in front of the class. And that, even as a 50-year-old man, that is still something that he carried. So you can see how quickly and how easily we might integrate something that we're told as a child, which we then carry through in life. And this just takes me on to the last thing that I feel I really want to share with you today, is this concept of our beliefs and how we create our personality, the part of us that we present to the world. Is my teacher once said, I think I mentioned this last week, that he's been practicing sadhana every single day for 40 plus years now, and he hasn't changed. He's still reactive, but he has the opportunity now to catch that reaction. So what he's talking about there is the fact that, and this is also backed up in modern psychology, it's not just a yogic concept, is that the first 7 years of our life are truly the most formative, because at that very vulnerable, receptive stage in life, we tend to believe everything that we're told. Because what do we know? We're the little ones. We've just arrived. So if there's somebody big and more experienced telling us this is how things are, the sky is blue. Oh, okay, so that's blue. That's the color of the sky. Yeah, we absorb it, we receive it, and we believe it. If somebody says to us, "You're stupid," we go, "Okay, that must be true as well. You're ugly. You're not good enough. You're annoying. You're too noisy. You're too quiet." Yeah, we receive these judgments as comments, sometimes perfectly harmless ones, really given by our parents who may have loved us very, very deeply, but in a moment of exasperation or exhaustion, something may come out. And because it came from somebody who was our caregiver that we believe, and because we're at that phase in life where we do believe pretty much everything, we absorb it and we make it ours. So we say really that in the first 7 years of life, you take all of the ingredients for your cake. So this is your genetic makeup, and this is everything that you receive from your environment. Those are the ingredients. You mix them together, you put them in the cake tin, you put them in the oven. It takes 7 years to bake. And then when you take the cake out of the oven, you realize you can't put more egg in or more sugar, or you can't take out a bit of salt because it's baked. Yeah, that's who you are. And this is what Carter, my teacher, was talking about. You know, he is still the reactive, passionate activist, but through work on consciousness, he realizes that he no longer has to react to every impulse that comes along, and he's learned how to feel it, recognize it, accept it, and choose a different path. Okay, so for us, when we look at spirit, we want to look almost beyond all of that, because spirit is the essence of that seed and the egg meeting. It's that potential which is in there beyond all of the filters, beyond all of the belief structures that we've been given. Yeah, you don't see an oak tree sitting in its field, you know, the big oak tree with a nice slender silver birch next to it going, you know, I want to be skinny like her, or, well, you look stupid, you know, you don't look like a real tree because you're too thin. Yeah, an oak tree is an oak tree. A silver birch is a silver birch. Because they don't have the level of consciousness that we have, they don't have ego, they don't disconnect from spirit. They don't disconnect from their essence. They don't go into rejection. So the lesson in spirit, Sat Nam, is really to remember that each one of us is unique and beautiful as we are. Yeah, there's no more beauty in an oak tree than a silver beech, or vice versa. Everything that we see in nature is part of creation, is worthy, is there for a reason and a purpose. You know, we're starting to realize, you know, you take out one part of an ecosystem, you destroy the whole hierarchy, or you can have a very heavy impact on it. Yeah. If we look now at what's happening to the sharks, we know that if sharks get exterminated, extinct, the whole ocean is going to die. We know that if whales become extinct, we're probably going to die, because they help to oxygenate the oceans, which help to keep our atmosphere cool and balanced. You can't remove one part of this beautiful, complex universe and expect it to stay in balance. And so when we reject ourselves, I want to be taller, I'm rejecting the unique qualities, talents that I might deliver through my smallness to the universe. So every time each one of us rejects a part of ourselves, rejects a part of our essence. Yeah, I'm not talking about the reactiveness. I'm not talking about the parts which are belief structures that we developed along the way, but I'm really talking about our essence, what a unique gift and talent that each one of us has to bring to the world, or the selection of unique gifts and talents in terms of our potential. When we reject that, we take something vital out of the whole. Do any of you have any questions at the moment on this so far, before we go into exercise? Paula, were you going to, no? Anybody have any questions? Okay. So what I want us to do today is a little bit of a journaling exercise. So if you can all make sure you've got pen and paper, wherever you're sitting. I'm going to give you 10 minutes each. Before we do the journaling, I'm just going to explain the exercise to you. We're going to do a meditation just to kind of bring you into the right state. But at the end of the meditation, what I'm going to do is ask you to journal from the place of innocence, from the place of pure potential. So without judgment, without, it's almost like you want to, I don't know, did any of you have those toys? It looked like a TV screen and it had two little knobs, left and right, and you could turn the right one, it would go up or down, and you could turn the left one, it would go left or right, and you could draw on this screen. Did anybody have this when they were young?
Etch-a-Sketch.
Etch-a-Sketch, exactly. Yes, thank you, Paula. Yeah, so it's this little, it looked like a TV screen for kids, and you can wiggle the knobbles and you could draw pictures, and then you could just go and delete everything that you'd done. It's that. I want you to delete everything that you know about yourself, everything that you became. And this is really hard. And this is why I say I want you to go back to a place of innocence and pure potential. So before any of your life happened, and I want you to journal from that place. Okay? I will tell you about the last piece of homework in a moment, but for now, we're going to go into the meditation. So just sit in a way that's comfortable, your spine straight, clear and relaxed. If you've got any tension, like I'm feeling in my neck, just allow yourselves to move a little bit, stretch out. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Just allow yourself to feel your breath, moving without forcing, without changing. And I just want you to begin to feel yourself in this moment as you are, with all that you've received, all that you have chosen to absorb, agree with, adopt as thought structures, as behavioral patterns. And to feel how some of those patterns and structures may support you, and yet some of them may also feel heavy and weigh you down. And maybe you can begin to discern which ones feel light, give you freedom of expression, and which ones feel heavy and limit you. And I just want you to travel back. Maybe 10 to 20 years. And just see yourself in an earlier stage of life. And maybe there were some things that felt heavier, which are no longer heavy. Maybe the frustration of being a teenager, the financial limitations of being in your early 20s are gone. But they were very real and present back then. But maybe there were other things in your life which were lighter. Maybe friendships, relationships felt easier. Maybe your heart hadn't been broken. You hadn't closed down yet. And travel back again now into childhood, so preteen. So 8, 9, 10 years. Whatever was happening in your life. See what felt light within you and around you, and what maybe felt heavy at that early age. And now really back into a state of innocence, whether that is 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, or even earlier. Pre-memory. Drop into a sense of feeling, of allowing yourself on a cellular level to be that young, innocent human being, full of pure potential, full of joy, curiosity, wanting to experience the world around you, receiving love. Unaware of what is to come. Unaware of the roles of your mother and father other than to care for you. Unaware of whether they're intelligent, educated, complicated. Choose simplicity. Unaware of their desires, their wishes for you. Really able to rest in that place of pure being, without expectation. And because you're in this place of pure being, innocence, potential, it may feel more like visions than words that come to you. So if you choose to draw or you choose to write, that is entirely up to you. But you have 10 minutes now to just allow that expression of your pure potential to come through. So however you choose to put that onto paper, in words or in pictures, just take some time now. Whenever you're ready, I will set the timer. And I'll let you know when you have 2 minutes left.